we have a little bit of listener mail, and we haven't had very much of this in the past. Send us your emails, mailbag@utahoutcast.com. Hit us up, 347-669-3377. We will respond to text messages that we get out there. This comes to us from just a Southern atheist gentleman who's also one of our patrons. He calls himself Jayza G, shortwise there. He says, so I'm curious. I wonder how many of y'all survived the satanic panic of the 80s and the 90s.
Oh, I was born in 89.
So I'm gonna read the whole thing and we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Down here in the South, it ran rampant, and I definitely agree with you there. My mother, bless her heart, bless your heart, was trying her best of what she thought was best for my sister and I, but I had everything banned in my household, from Pokemon to Procter & Gamble products to Saturday morning cartoons and movies with excess magic. How about y'all? So.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I didn't see Satanic Panic in my house. My parents were largely unconcerned with that. My dad was Catholic. My mom was Methodist. Largely hippie. So that wasn't really.
I got both barrels of the Satanic Panic. My mom was very, very Baptist religious in the South, and
wow, that's surprising considering your recent history.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. We're not going to go into detail on that, however, but
I was being
that's another thing that pisses me off about that story, that only we three of us know, that nobody else is going to know.
But for all of you,
no, sorry, but I was not allowed to listen to many of the bands that I really love now in my older adulthood that I couldn't listen to back then, like Iron Maiden. I couldn't listen to Iron Maiden. I go back and listen to it now, and I'm like, this is amazing fucking metal. Why the hell couldn't I listen to this back then?
Oh, I love Iron Maiden now, but I just I was never banned from listening to any music, ever. Like, music was never cut off from me, but I kind of was only exposed to what my parents were listening to, and they kind of like, my dad likes U2, and my mom like Alanis Morissette. So, great. I'm happy with
so I'm your dad. No, just kidding. And your mom, because
great. I had super like loving hippie parents. But my mom was super concerned about the impact of hyperviolence on kids.
I still am, even as an adult right now. I don't let my kids play FPS games.
Yeah, like, as a kid, I was super frustrated by it, but now I look back and I'm like, she wasn't that wrong. So I wasn't allowed to watch Simpsons growing up, which, fair. Like, that's a really adult show.
I watch an episode or two here or there with the kids. I don't let them watch entire series because there's a lot of inappropriate shit in there.
There is. Yeah,
but nothing to do with religion at that point, though. That's the thing.
No, it wasn't. It was never religious. There was never a satanic panic in my house. My mom was concerned about violent video games, though. Also, my mom had concerns. She was never like a fundamentalist on any of these things, but she was concerned about vaccines as well. So.
Oh no!
She's come around on that one.
She's come around. That's good. Yeah. I was not allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons as a kid because of Satanic Panic.
My mom
because
would have been delighted.
Yeah, I know. I heard that one. Yeah,
because Jack Chick in his darkest dungeon thing that he had out there.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. My mom asked the missionary what the difference between prayer, meditation, and casting spells was. My mother asked that to a missionary.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, did they have an answer?
No.
I wasn't allowed to listen to like anything heavy metal. So I wasn't allowed to listen to like Razor X. I wasn't allowed to listen to Megadeth, Metallica, which is interesting because in my right around my teen years, I really got heavy into Gwar. And they couldn't stop me at that point, so it fucking backfired on them. So
no, my mom was not into super raunchy cartoons, like, again, The Simpsons. Family Guy wasn't really a thing when I was growing up. I mean, it was, but it just didn't enter our atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But there was never any music I was banned from. I think my mom kind of saw that as an art, and therefore exploratory material, right? Instead of propaganda. She's not entirely wrong in that cartoons did and do function more as propaganda in some ways than music does. Music is more exploratory of ideas just by its inherent non-literal transmission. So.
The fucked up thing about the whole music thing for me is that my dad listened to like 60s and 70s metal. Like nothing from like, it was like the 80s and beyond. I wasn't able to listen to any of that shit but he brought me up listening to lots of experimental shit. Like I was one of the few kids in the early 80s that knew who Jean-Michel Jarre was from the French synthesizer guy. Like
really
listen to some weird shit when I was younger. And I was like, in the early 80s, I was listening to that on the fucking regular on the LP, just listening to that shit. It's so fucking weird that I had this dichotomy of parents growing up where my mom was like, you can't do this because the devil. And then my dad's like, you can't do this because it shows that parents are not being honored in the household. I got both barrels of honor thy father and thy mother bullshit. Like my mom to this day still won't say a mean thing towards her abusive fucking parents, her mom and dad, like physically, emotionally, and probably other ways of being abusive towards her. She won't say anything about it now, even though actually both of them are dead, because she believes that she's not honoring her father and mother because of the Bible.
Oof. Wow, that's brutal.
Yeah. And so it had a really fucking like definitive thing about, raising me up. You'd better honor me. You better do what I say kind of thing. And it's fucked me up as a parent also in regard where I grew up under very authoritarian parents.
I didn't. Oh my God.
And I have to catch myself a lot of the time not trying to go, okay, fuck, I am doing the wrong thing here. I'm acting exactly like my parents did when I was a kid. And you don't want to pass that shit on generationally to kids. And it's fucked up. So yes, I Procter and Gamble wasn't allowed in the house because there was the whole idea of them being satanic, where they were like doing all of the evil things in the world. Kind of like there was products that you just couldn't use. So yes, I'm with you, Just a Southern Atheist Gentleman, because I too was brought up as a Christian in Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Texas when I was a little boy.
That's crazy.
And so it was fucking insane.
In my household, my best friend growing up, she was raised atheist. I mean, that wasn't a common term going around, right, back in the day. And but her family didn't believe in God. She didn't believe in God. I did. They didn't care. My family didn't care. Like, and then what was not allowed in my household was super progressive shit. Like, my dad still had like the inklings of the Catholic stuff. Like, he didn't want me exposed to the concept of sex. No, mom's like, she can handle it. She's a human.
I wasn't allowed to watch the Canadian TV show that was one of the first shows that they had on Nickelodeon called You Can't Do That on Television. People out there, some people are going to remember that title, and it's where Alanis Morissette got her start, really.
Right.
No, it's crazy. Like,
I wasn't allowed to watch that because it showed people talking down to parents or to adults.
Oh, I was thinking, like, when you're talking about, like, you can't argue with your parents.
Yeah.
I argued with my mother as a teenager. Like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I got
and shit, being a teenager, the gloves come off, but you know.
But no, I argued with my mother, and it was just like tough. Like, there was never like this doctrine in my family, like, you don't deserve
you do what I
love.
say because Jesus and God.
Yeah,
you know?
no, there was no, you don't deserve love or affection or like any of that. Like, it was like, we're mad right now. That was the way I was raised, was like, we're mad right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now. And then we work it out or we don't. And, you know, most harms in your life, they kind of you just kind of move on. Yeah. And that's fine. It's okay. You don't have to work out every single tiny harm. Most of the time you just kind of move on past because life's too short.
Felicia had no satanic panic. Felicia had no satanic panic. Nope. I had a lot of it. Kyle, did you have any?
It was kind of middle of the road for me.
You were a Mormon growing up, so it wasn't quite as heavy satanic.
It wasn't quite as much. So. It wasn't quite as much. I had an interesting mix. My mom was from the East Coast. She went to a very liberal university. My dad was a, West Coast Utah Mormon construction worker. So there was this weird. There was this weird mix.
A hybrid.
There was nothing that was explicitly banned. I mean, we had a closet of records that went from the Beatles to Rolling Stone and Cream and Fleetwood Mac and the Carpenters. So we had there was plenty of that. So they didn't care what we listened to. There was nothing that led them to believe that music was in any way
That's
evil.
Actually something I've noticed in a lot of Mormons is music's pretty open in a lot of Mormons.
Music's pretty open. They also didn't really have a problem with anything as far as movies or TV shows. I mean, there was stuff that they didn't like, but it wasn't at the level of oh no, you can't watch that because Jesus wouldn't like it. It was no, you can't watch that because it's way too violent or way too sexual for you.
My mom had trouble with me watching Power Rangers because it was violent, and I said, "Mom, it's not blood." And her whole thing wasn't that and she's not wrong. There was violence in it. She was like, blood doesn't make violence, Felicia. As a kid, I didn't get it. And I'm I kind of get where she's coming from now. I kind of get where she's coming from now.
Right.
But again, I was growing up in a completely different age than she was, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, my mom was
it was
uncomfortable
also,
with Power Rangers.
You have no fucking idea how excited I was for Power Rangers to make it to the States. how we finally got Tokusatsu series in America. I was so goddamn excited for that.
I mean, with my parents watching something, it was that's pretend, right? Yeah, okay.
My parents would regularly. My same parents that were worried about demon fear and all this other stuff, and you can't do this, can't say that, can't do that, were the same parents that rented the Faces of Death series.
Yeah.
What?
And let me watch up until the point where the bad stuff happened and they do the whole turn your head, don't watch this kind of thing. And I'm 7,
That's dark.
Yeah. God damn it, I had a fucked up childhood.
Yeah. So
I grew up really loving and supportive parents.
Right.
Holy shit. Neither parent
my favorite days was when I was a latchkey kid. And I didn't have to talk to either one of them.
Oh my god! My dad, both my mother and my father. My mom always came to more of my performances, but both my parents always made sure they came to my performances. I had such a loving and support. I swear to God, this is why I credit me being able to heal from PTSD so much. My grandmother and my aunt both my grandmothers, and I'm pretty sure my grandfather one, came to high school performances of plays or dance, or there is a video, and I'm sure it's gone now. No, I'm sure it exists somewhere on a VHS. When I performed as a teenager, and I did a belly dance routine. We were doing it to a Shakira song, which was heavy belly dance. And I'd been studying belly dance myself. And that was so inappropriate to the Mormons, right? And I knew
because we can see your
sexy.
navel.
I knew it was kind of sexy, but to me it was also really fascinating, the way to move your body like that. That was, to me, it was more fascinating, right? And I was doing body rolls, and I got a solo in a performance with belly dance style. And I went out there and I did a bunch of body rolls, and then I like went down on the ground. It was not like exotic dance. It really wasn't. It looked like belly dance. And if anyone knows anything about traditional belly dance, it doesn't look like exotic.
No. Hey,
but my stepmom, you can hear her in the video going, "Woo! Go, Felicia!" My stepmother was doing that. Like, this is the world I grew up in. Was like, I fought with my stepmother, but like, she was like the world I grew up in was like, I fought with my family. Like that's
I want to
I don't even know.
To wrap this whole thing up, I want to ask both of you guys: did you have to say prayers before bed?
No, I was never required.
Okay, Kyle?
Not
no,
really.
I did.
No.
I did for a long time, but it was always a choice, and I never did it habitually. Like, there was most of my life, I never prayed before bed. There was a time in my life where I was like choosing to, and then there was a time in my life when.
Now, was it the standard prayer that you get right before you go to bed at the night, where
now I lay me down to sleep?
Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take.
Was not that Catholic.
No,
prayers before bed.
That was mine. That was mine. Every night.
Sometimes my dad would kneel with us, and then we just do like a standard like meditative prayer on the day, kind of, like reflecting on, and then bless so and so and so and so and so and so. But it was never like a habitual thing. And then I got to about 10 or 11 or 12 or so, and my parents were pretty recently divorced, and they'd been going through a lot of change, and I kind of relied on God a lot then, and I really loved God back then. I mean, that's kind of standard in people. And then I started praying, and I started diving into the ritual, but I love ritual. I'm somebody who loves ritual. To this day, I love ritual. So just as a concept, but it was never a standard. Like,
mine was the standard prayer, plus stuff that my parents told me to add in, like, afterward kind of thing. They wanted me to bless all the people I had in my life kind of thing, so that they would be okay. But then they also wanted me to make sure that I thanked God for letting me live that day.
Oh my God! What?
Yep. Okay, so I'm finding out this isn't actually a pretty normal thing.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as
thank you for letting me live another day.
What?
Hopefully you let me live many more. Yeah. I remember saying these words. Yeah.
I was always told, okay, go to bed, say your prayers. All right.
Good night, Wesley. I'm likely to kill you in the morning.
say your prayers was like, okay, good night, say your prayers, brush your teeth. All right. Fine.
Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, guys.
Shit. No, my prayers were like,
I need therapy.
my prayers were like, I'm never thanked for living another day. Like, and there's actually...
but you have to keep in mind.
No kidding, I was never thankful for living another day. God,
you have to keep in mind, I was Southern Baptist, and Southern Baptist people's belief of God is He brought you into this world and He could take you out just anytime He wants. And so very vengeful God. Very angry God.
God damn it. Yeah, the vengeful part is that He didn't take you out. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, it would have been a mercy at this point.
Why? Why didn't you?
My dad's definition of God is indistinguishable from the world we live in. Like, that's my dad.
So he can't even be considered a deist.
He just needs to believe that he's going to see his dad again, kind of thing. Like, but like,
well, lead him down to ancestor worship. Let's have him start praising Crom. Let's start.
Oh my God, no! My family was like, pray if you want. Oh my God. Okay, so no.
Hopefully, we do have to wrap it up because this is 20 minutes of us talking about this. So thank you for the great email, just a Southern Atheist Gentleman. I hope this answered your question.
We could go on another hour on this topic.
Yeah, thank you for opening up wounds that I didn't realize were that fucking weird.
Yeah,
I had no idea. Wow. Okay. Just me then, right? Fuck me.
Yeah.